When there's a world of hate, who do you call? Flonne Busters! Welcome, Obscure Titan, with another essay video for Megatronic Legacy. Last time I made videos about it were Spyro and Gnasty Gnorc. Now that we are nearing the Triforce of Megatronic Legacy's first installment plans, Flonne is next. You might be asking, why Flonne? You know there's Elora, Bianca, and even Cinder. Why pick her, from Disgaea, and not Spyro? There's a reason we're going with her as opposed to the other picks. But to do so, however, we need to analyze her official entries in a series mainly filled with funny-looking penguins who explode into pieces once thrown out. I'll start with the games in a chronological order this time, going from Hour of Darkness to Brighter Darkness and to Promise Unforgotten. She does make several appearances in the series, such as Makai Kingdom and Trinity Universe, just to name a few. But these three will be the main talking points for this segment. Once they're covered, I'll go over her origins, the pre-Cold War conception part discussing her role in Megatronic Legacy, which will lead us to the reason as to why she's in this project in the first place, and lead to the post-Cold War segment. The sources provided for Disgaea 1, Brighter Darkness, and Disgaea 4 will come from the Disgaea fandom wiki for citation. I'll also rephrase a source to feel a little bit different, but also give credit to it. Right, Joe?
It's not possible. Come on, give me a break, man.
By the end of the video, you'll see why this decision would be rational to take. Flonne was an angel trainee who came from Celestia, where angels reside. She was sent on a mission by Seraph Lamington to assassinate King Krachevskoy in the Netherworld. Shortly after her arrival, though, she learns from Laharl that his father died 2 years ago. Contrast to Laharl having no sense of grief with this notion, Flonne felt saddened and changed her goal to following him and observe if demons are capable of love. Throughout the game, Flonne would accompany Laharl and Etna. Occasionally she would scold the prince if he was doing something bad, or just being rude in general, like calling her hey or you. As the game nears to an end, Flonne ends up fighting angels, even killing them, which gave Volcanus any means of ammunition to get Lamington to punish her. She did get her punishment by the Seraph, but not before Volcanus got his for starting a war between Celestia, Earth, and the Netherworld. The endings in the Disgaea games will vary depending on your status in the main game, but the good ending suggests that Flonne becomes a fallen angel and retains it throughout the rest of the series, apart from Disgaea 4. One thing to note in this description is that, while Flonne is generally kind-hearted, does have a tendency to question what her role in the mission of assassination is, even so far as to say that it's unfair to judge others based on rumors alone. This is a contrast to Volcanus' personality, who tends to come off as a woke Jehovah's Witness. Another is that Flonne, at least in her pre-Fallen arc, has a sense of dignity despite poor IQ on more than one occasion, and tends to be fairly clumsy. She has a good connection with the less fortunate and is willing to do her duties in the name of love. Literally, she's a love freak. Something also worth noting is that she has an interest in Japanese animation, video games, and all sorts of geek stuff. Funny how an angel would get into that silly stuff. There isn't much to delve into for Flonne in Brighter Darkness, unlike Etna, but at least one detail to describe would suffice. She gets another form known as Pure Flonne, inspired by the Pure Pink character from the Pure 7 Morphing Angels TV. She was granted this form after consulting with Seraph Lamington regarding the missing angels in the Netherworld. Being made into a temporary archangel to resolve the matter, Flonne chose it via her own preference. Her pure form is able to sense the most minute of angel energies in order to help the party locate the angels who went missing. To sum it all up, Flonne's pure form is a full-blown weeaboo at a convention. Unlike Disgaea 2 and 3, Flonne reverts to her original angel persona, though under an archangel form. Having larger wings and a new outfit, this signifies her position. Flonne is a boss character in the post-game and can be unlocked by defeating her. She's mostly unseen throughout most of the game, but is mentioned in the story by Volcanus, as in the she-Volcanus, not the volcanic witness from Hour of Darkness, referring to her as Lady Archangel. She does make her appearance in Chapter 9 to help Valpatoris and team to save Earth, with the help of her great Flonzer X-Robot. There isn't much detail to go into, except I found one source that suggests Flonne went into an exam to upgrade from her Fallen Angel status into an Archangel. Citation in the comment section would suffice. It starts with Flonne being built by an Empyrean civilization known as Celestia, a sub-region of Cybertron, which, in this continuity, is heaven. Her role in the Cybertronian regime is an angel, and starting point is a trainee under an Autobot Seraph. Her date of birth is said to be August 3rd, 99 AD. Now this is where my original intent including Crystal Lamington comes in. However, having heaven come up as the Cybertronian realm, given most of these angelic characters that vibe, would make things more consistent. So, I have officially decided to scrap Lamington entirely and have a character based off of him named Luminous Magnus. He'll still have similar traits to Crystal Lamington though. As Flonne is experiencing her first years as an Autobot trainee, Luminous Magnus sees potential in Flonne's performance and is rooting for the angel. However, an Autobot cherub named Ratchet isn't as supportive. He is a much more authoritarian Autobot who forbids anyone from obtaining the Matrix lest Optimus Prime allows it. Even if Prime says those who are worthy to receive it will receive it, Ratchet would still hold contempt of Flonne's servitude to the future holder. Flonne's equipment would start off with a bow and arrow. A sci-fi one, I might add. The arrows could be made out of energon. Flonne has admired the lifestyle of the Primes and looks up to them for guidance. It is the year of 1859, just 2 years before the American Civil War began. The country was at the verge of collapse until Abraham Lincoln was elected in the 1860 election. Flonne was tasked by the Cybertronian Heaven regime to aid America, and eventually leading Lincoln to wield the Matrix if he were to win the Civil War. He did overstep his boundaries, but were necessary to save America when it was in its worst condition. Sadly, after his re-election, Lincoln was assassinated, and Flonne began an investigation to find the one responsible for killing the late 16th president. But by the time she found the killer, John Wilkes Booth, it was already too late. No trace of him was to be even seen. There has been a variety of theories as to what happened, but to save time, and since this is a Flonne-centric episode and also keeping the establishment neocon grifters at bay, I'll keep going. Time has passed and has continuously looked after more presidents. Sadly, none were worthy to wield the Matrix. Even the better ones and post-Lincoln to pre-Teddy such as Glover Cleveland and Ulysses Grant weren't worthy enough. By 1901, McKinley was killed. Theodore Roosevelt becomes president and Flonne helped him fend off against enemy forces. Sadly, there was a fallout in the Republican Party and Taft's handling didn't make matters better. By 1912, Woodrow Wilson was elected and brought in socialist policies and brought America in a period where problems would arise. Whether it was Jim Crow's influence, assisting the Triple K, and lying by saying he would not put America into the World War but does so anyways. On top of his abhorrent handling of his presidency, Flonne was becoming more distant, feeling as though America really did die when socialism was implemented. Wilson was overstepping his boundaries more so than any other president she's worked with and feels guilty for even sticking up to him. In an act of her own retribution, Flonne quits the American government and sought to end World War I. While she did help to end the war, she decided not to be an ally to America anymore. Going to World War II, Flonne was still neutral at this point, not even thinking of returning to America. She does get involved into the war and occasionally crosses paths with Etna on some occasions. I had an idea where Etna constantly switches on all sides of the Second World War, using the National Socialists, the Soviet Union, and FDR's socialist-controlled America to fuel an astronomical nuclear decimation. Etna in this continuity is a granddaughter of Mesolika, who was sent to Earth by crafting a nuclear abomination that would be powerful enough to destroy continents. She's also an international prostitute for world leaders to get their good side, fueling their wars even further. So that piece could be utilized for Flonne to save Earth, not just America. That part would be said where Primus reminds Flonne of her purpose, how she fell away from her role, and the consequences which brought her in a state of doubt. She does work with the Allied powers to put it into the Axis and driving Etna away from Earth back to Mystica. It was in 1953 when Dwight Eisenhower becomes the 34th president of the US, and Flonne sees the socialist influence fading away. Throughout the 50s and early 60s, Flonne realizes her role and has returned as an official ally to America. She would not abandon her position ever again. That is until November 1963. The assassination of John F. Kennedy. Unlike JFK, LBJ was much more lenient to socialist ideologies and even opposed the civil rights movement, to which Goldwater actually supports the civil rights bill. Flonne was having haunting memories of her experience with Wilson and was unsure if she should continue her position as America's ally. Her fears would be put to the test in 1965. Spyro and the Dragons fled to America after a war was started by Gnasty Gnorc. with the baby dragon arriving to San Diego, California. Ronald Reagan adopted the little dragonette under his care, but it would be short-lived. Reagan was running for governor of California for 1966 and left Spyro to Flonne. Despite her fears of what would transpire during LBJ's presidency, she puts it all aside to take care of Spyro. While we're on the subject, Flonne and Reagan can be close friends in secret going all the way back to World War II. During her neutral stance between 1917 and 1953, she watches over one man who would become the 40th president several years later. Flonne and Reagan start conversations in private and keeping their friendship low profile. As a big sister to the little brother, Flonne mentored and cared for Spyro from 1965 to 1983. She could teach the little dragon into morality, compassion, and independence. And whenever the little dragon would do something wrong, Flonne would correct him, whether it be bad behavior, poor judgment calls, lack of responsibility, etc. This can give Spyro and Flonne a brother-sister relationship, allowing their positive and negative emotions to flourish in moments where they're needed. It wouldn't always be positive, where both just get along all the time. Spyro is raised in a society where freedom and capitalism are the benefactors of America. However, with one having a stronger sense of foresight while the other lacks that can give a believable chemistry, Flonne, coming off as a conservative Christian, can be a good way to establish a relationship with Spyro despite being a capitalist agnostic, and thus could open plot potentials. In Gnorcarchy, the intended first entry, set on March 1983, Ronald Reagan holds a meeting with the notion of the Soviet Union and Gnasty Gnorc planning to test crystal bombs at countries close to Russia, Finland being one example. Gnasty and Yuri Androv plan to use the crystal bombs to crystallize countries for resources. The Gnorc has his socialist plots for minerals that will last him a lifetime to avoid shortage. Spyro would need Flonne's guidance in this adventure to put a stop to Gnasty's plan of nuclear crystallization. While Flonne opposes socialism and communism, she is more level-headed when it comes to approaching dire situations, and Spyro lacks that. They would butt heads on how to execute actions. It would disobey Flonne's wishes. This would put Flonne in a difficult dilemma, not just having to deal with a political war against socialism, but having a youngling under her care. All of those combined, her ordeals could be more compelling than Spyro's. The same would be said about her pre-Cold War arc. Flonne would progress from a mere robot whose purpose was settled, yet wasn't sure if it was pure. And because of her government doubts, Flonne ends up falling out to oppose socialist tyrannies. Flonne puts her principles first. National and faction affiliation would come second. After all, what would happen if a majority of Cybertron ends up just as being guilty as Unicron and Helrix? Flonne's upgrade from her vanilla form into a Seraph could be decided by her performance. What could suggest her success in aiding Spyro to defeat Gnasty Gnorc from starting a crystal bomb that could turn the whole Earth's surface into statues? There was a TGL design of Flonne not too long ago. This was a design back when I was developing Mortal Brothers 2022 Off and Bearing. It resembled a very old design I made less than a decade ago, where I added biblical verses to each of the 5 pieces. One of these has Flonne in it. Long story short, Flonne's arc in TGL is where she was originally Winry's daughter, who got upgraded by the heavens as a backup angel in the post-Revelation era. In Offenbarren, Genie Flonne from the 2019 timeline woke her up early, and had a short adventure with her on Cybertron to find its afterlife for. The design very much inspires Megatronic Flonne in several aspects. Flonne, an Autobot Angel trainee. She was under Luminous Magnus' care and tasked with one goal: to watch over the spark or soul who would be worthy of the matrix of leadership. Throughout her lifetime, she has aided America and opposed totalitarian factions. During her pre-Cold War era, she fell out of America's favor after a change in focus on socialism as a focal point, and has fought other nations and realms during the World Wars. Since after, she returned to America as an ally once the very essence of socialism was diminished. In 1963, however, it was brought back. Facing uncertainty, it was eventually put into a test when Spyro arrived as a baby dragon in 1965. Ronald Reagan handed the young dragon to Flonne in preparation for his campaign to get elected as governor for California, and she had no choice but to take him under her care. This relationship eased her fears and focused on raising him as his mentor. She would teach Spyro into morality, while Reagan's influence gives him a sense of freedom and individuality. Part of this also comes into Flonne's responsibility for his behavior as her adopted little brother. As the early 1980s drew near, Flonne has become wiser and more faithful to America for sticking up to the roots the Founding Fathers established. But most of all, Spyro has grown up to learn much of his childhood under Flonne's influence, being the hero she'd hoped for him to be better than herself prior to their bonding. In the midst of all times of calamity, Flonne is Spyro's mentor and advisor, guiding him to the right path and aiding him in any way she could, but would occasionally butt heads, and can sometimes argue with certain points they go through. As much of a test it is for Spyro's growth, so is Flonne's patience, but she will put her fears aside to help her allies reach their goals. Flonne is one of Disgaea's biggest names in its series, and gets to have a place here in Megatronic Legacy. Anyways, that should be it for Gnorcocracy. I know it's only 3 characters and I could include more, including a few historical figures such as Reagan and Androlf, but will most likely be written in the off time. Next time I'll go over a few others that will be in the series. Conquer, Shantae, Reptile, and several others will be getting theirs. It involves a potential big sequel for a few entries to tie into. Thanks for watching, feel free to subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Over and out.